Welcome back. Today in our Sunday Spotlight, the launch of a new newspaper in Winsted. Andy Thibault is the editor and publisher for the pilot edition of the Winsted Citizen. His partner in the project is one of the most famous citizens of Winsted, Ralph Nader. Ralph is joining us on the phone. Andy is here with me in Studio A. But Mr. Nader, I want to start with you. Tell us about this idea in a time when newspapers are shutting down. You're starting one up. Why is it necessary?
Well, you made the right point. They're shutting down all over the country. Gannett is shutting down some weeklies. It starts out with you can't have a community without a newspaper, because if you don't have a newspaper, how do people find out what's going on at Town Hall or up at Highland Lake or in the schools? How do they find out? They don't know what's going on because there's no newspaper. And not only that, but they don't know what's going on that will allow them to make connections with their neighbors and friends, to respond to offers, to heed alerts. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? But unfortunately, our declining literacy in this country and digital journalism has closed down a lot of print newspapers. And this one, Andy's going to make both print and online, and it just makes the community come alive. I grew up in this town, Eric, when I was a paper boy. We had the Winsted Evening Citizen. It's about the same population as it is today, and it came out every day, 6 days a week. And here we are fighting to resurrect weekly in a community that is living in what we call the information age. Well, we're going to put substance into that phrase.
Well, that certainly is an important mission. The person who's going to be carrying out that mission is Andy Thibault, who we've known each other for a lot of years, served on some committees together. Why are you jumping into this, Andy? This is a big undertaking.
Well, it's an opportunity of a lifetime, and as was pointed out in the CT News Junkie, stamina might be an issue for me, but I have to admit I can't keep up with Ralph, but I'm trying.
So tell me how it's going to work. You're working on your first edition to come out in February, and you want to test the community interest.
Yes, we've been doing that. There's a lot of good feedback on the street. I spoke with a jewelry store owner, and we're working on dressing up a nice ad for her. In our first edition, all the ads are free. There'll be 2-column, 4.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and we got some very nice looking ads already in, and some that we need work, but we do have several graphic designers on our team who are excellent.
And how will it work? Is it going to be mailed to homes, delivered to homes? You subscribe to it? What's the model?
We're looking at all those elements. For the first edition, there's going to be a group of paper boys, including myself, which will be the core team. Down the road, we're intending to become a 501c3, and in that manner, we can accept donations. And we'll be, in the long term, and again, we're only committing to a pilot edition at this time, but in the long term, we're looking at subscriptions and ads and donations.
And the idea is if you get enough interest in this pilot, you keep this thing going. I know the towns, we obviously Winsted, Heartland, Riverton, Colebrook, Norfolk, and New Hartford as well. So a big area that you're hoping to cover, and you have some well-known reporter names. I looked at them, a lot of people I know and names I recognize.
Well, I had a meeting the other day with a school principal with Kathy Megan, formerly of the Hartford Courant and Connecticut Mirror, and I told the principal she was the best education reporter ever in Connecticut, but Robert Fromm was pretty good too, also later the Courant.
So big name people who are taking some time to write. Mr. Nader, I want to turn back to you because you talked about if you don't have a newspaper, you won't know what's happening in your community, and the example you gave, I saw a quote from you, was you won't know what happened at the board meeting unless you actually go. Is that the gap you're trying to bridge, to give people the information without them having to have the shoe leather hard work?
Yeah, of course. In our history, it was the posters, the old newspapers that brought people out. Half of democracy is showing up, and it's been shown study after study, Eric, that If you don't have a community newspaper, there's less voter turnout, less people show up at town meetings, less people show up at civic gatherings. It shreds the community. And it's a scar on our culture that we allow these newspapers to close just because of unimaginative corporate editors who just want to strip mine these newspapers and run away with the profits. There is no substitute for local journalism, and there's nothing more interesting to people than local journalism. Not just social clubs, weddings, births, graduations, athletic achievements, but the sum and substance of a community trying to improve itself, its public services, its responsive city government, how the state reacts. So Andy's a terrific person for this. You couldn't find a more varied and experienced person. It's amazing how many bases he can touch in a day, how he brings in freelancers, how he brings in people who've been laid off by shrunken newspapers, chains. And so if this works, Eric, it will be a model all over the country, because there'll be 3 streams coming in: subscriptions, advertising revenues, and charitable contributions, because it's going to be a 501c3 nonprofit. And
well, certainly,
if people are interested.
We're just about out of time. I just want to give Andy the last word. You want to see if it's going to happen, Andy. Are you confident that we have 10 seconds left? Confident that people are going to be into it?
Yes, come to our party January 24th, 6 p.m. at the Tort Museum.
All right, beautiful. Well, we appreciate it. And that is CT23 for this week. Thanks to Andy, thanks to Ralph, and thanks to all our other guests. CBS Sunday Morning is next. We'll meet you back here in Studio A next Sunday morning.